You pick up an item, a medkit, a weapon, some ammo, or an antidote. It's now in your inventory. A magical, mystical, wonderful hole in reality that holds all the items you will ever need. Inventory management, a term that evokes fear and loathing, excitement, and more, arguably as many feelings and emotions as the rest of the game. When a new game is announced, Reddit will spend hours combing every single frame of a gameplay trailer looking at how the inventory works. And why? Well, when you play a game that uses inventory, there's a good chance you're going to spend a lot of time interacting with that inventory system. You'll scroll through the menus, becoming intimately familiar with all its quirks and shortcuts over potentially dozens of hours, to the point where you can probably remember how to find things in the menus of games you've played the longest, even years later. I spent hundreds of hours in Skyrim on the Xbox, and I can remember exactly how the menu works, even without having played the game for 5 or 6 years. Bethesda, of course, being one of the biggest users of inventories in recent years. Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, Fallout 3, New Vegas, Fallout 4. The inventory systems of each have drawn in literal lifetimes worth of gameplay. In fact, it was Fallout 76 which spurred me to create this video about inventory management and how integral good management and good design is to the overall gameplay experience. If you haven't played Fallout 76, which I know many of you have not, there are bobby pins. Bobby pins being the tool a lockpicking player uses to, well, lockpick a lock. These bobby pins have, in every Fallout made by Bethesda, been zero-weight items. You can literally have thousands of them without any weight whatsoever. Fallout 76 has changed that, giving bobby pins a weight, and the weight they gave them was 0.1, which may not sound like a lot, but it means that having 10 bobby pins for 1 pound now represents a noticeable fraction of your overall weight-bearing capacity. It's important to additionally mention that one of the few complaints about Fallout 76 that isn't tied to very dumb marketing mistakes or just outright bugs and bad coding, but actually a complaint about gameplay mechanics as they were designed, is that you have very, very limited storage options. You can build a storage chest, but that storage chest shares total space with your stash. You can only ever have 600 pounds of total storage ever. Build a new chest, build a fridge or a locker or a dresser. All those storage items will continue to share the total space of 600 pounds. Be prepared to leave items you might otherwise want to take with you because of space and weight concerns. It is in this environment, where space truly is at a premium, that Bethesda has announced they've changed the way bobby pins work. They now represent a weight of 0.001. A pretty sizable change in total weight, since you can now carry 1,000 bobby pins in the previous space of 10. The question that immediately comes to my mind, of course, is why is there such an arbitrary limit on storage? Considering especially that Fallout 4's claim to fame was the fact that you could build bases with essentially unlimited amounts of storage. A game which comes from a lineage where you're essentially taught to steal everything that isn't nailed to the ground. This makes inventory management a type of resource management, a minigame all of its own. Sometimes it's designed to improve fun choices for the player, sometimes it's immersion, but mostly it tends to be a way to pad a time and artificially limit the player. For example, consider a game like Subnautica. In this game, is there really a value to be gained by forcing the player to move items into lockers to store them, only to then force that player to wander around their base, checking locker after locker looking for a single item several hours later? Now, many players will suggest that this is part of the challenge, a fun and rewarding side mission all on its own. Others will instead just as accurately call it an unnecessary pain that only gets easier if the other parts of the game are rewarding enough to keep them playing around it. The fact is that no player will understand how to manage their inventory on the first playthrough, meaning that for a new player, the inventory system is always bad, objectively. A system where the player cannot possibly use it correctly without designing their own system to work over top of the mistake of the designer, well, that's just not a good system to be. Some games are lauded for their inventory management, usually because the inventory gets out of the way. Dark Souls is almost universally appreciated for their inventory management because, well, you don't manage it. And there seems to be a couple different opinions on how to handle this from the industry. One way is to give infinite space and allow you to pick up anything at all, essentially making it more about finding the items in the first place. This certainly removes some level of difficulty in the gameplay. That being said, how is it a good kind of difficulty to artificially limit the amount of goods you can carry? Is there really a benefit to forcing the player to go out and find one more mushroom, all because they threw out a mushroom an hour ago to save space for a medkit? Is that really the kind of gameplay that we would consider to be next level? Has any player ever picked up a piece of gear and seen you are now over encumbered and thought, man, that's incredible, this is really the riveting gameplay I paid for? There's a certain type of game where inventory management is tactical, like PUBG and Fortnite. You are making decisions that change and increase the amount of fun and player agency by limiting what a player can carry. You have to decide in the heat of the moment what you're going to carry. You make commitments to those decisions, and the entire game could hinge on what decisions you've made. You might lose because of something you threw out, or win because you picked something up. However, in a single-player RPG with save games, that level of intensity just isn't there, and outside of loot-centric games like Diablo, Destiny, and Borderlands, there's a serious questionability about how valuable it is to force a player to make minute decisions based off arbitrary stats in an inventory system in the first place. Is it actually fun and rewarding to select a knife that has a +1 stat over your previous knife? It will look the same and play the same and do some intangible amount of damage more, or at least that's what the numbers suggest, but the fact is that I don't think I've ever equipped a slightly more powerful weapon and actually noticed any difference whatsoever. That's why those loot-centric games work so hard to make their weapons visually different, using wacky animations and bright colors. This makes that +1 a little bit different, a little more exciting. But in a standard RPG, is there actually any value at all? What kind of fun feedback loop is a player experiencing when after a fight they spend 20 minutes comparing two different weapons that look identical, but one has +1 of stat A and one has +1 of stat B, and the player has to choose only because they don't have room for both, but the fight is over, so there's no real urgency to move and make any decision that isn't the best decision. This sort of min-max laziness is absolutely justified by the player, but it's annoying that the developer even put it in the game. There's a reason why Halo's two-gun approach was so revolutionary, why Ratchet & Clank's radial menu was so gratifying, and why people still have nightmares about the single-column, unsortable inventory system that Mass Effect used. We should remember that the inventory system represents the character's story, more than just the healing items that the player is able to stuff inside. This inventory, whether a bag, a locker, or a bottomless pocket, will often be one of the few unchanged things throughout the game. It may grow slightly larger, but its core systems remain the same. It represents the history of the player, the trials and tribulations experienced, trophies achieved, and quests unfulfilled. It can also represent hours of not playing the game, staring into a menu and clicking back and forth trying to achieve a simple goal that the designers simply made too convoluted. What's your favorite inventory, or the inventory you hated the most? I hated The Witcher's entire inventory. It felt unnecessarily complex. Let me know what you loved or hated below, and be sure to let me know why. Be sure also to share this video, and if you liked it, you can watch another in the corner right now, and as always, we'll see you on the next one.